might think that in order to make music, you need to be able to play an instrument or read musical notes, right? Wrong. Using a technique called sampling, you can build tracks using existing sound recordings. In fact, the song we're listening to right now has been made entirely from samples. Listen to the beat of the song. Notice something? It's actually one short section. That section is the sample, and it's been repeated again and again to create a loop. And you can do the same thing with a bass line or any musical sample, using them once or looping them. And when you're listening to these samples, how would you describe the sounds of the instruments? Well, you don't need to know complicated musical terms. Every instrument has a timbre, and it's the quality of its sound. That timbre can change depending on how the instrument is being played and the music it's playing. So listening to the timbre of these different guitar samples, you could describe them as warm or cold, spiky or smooth. Words that we already know and we all understand. It's all about listening. Back in the 1970s, DJs used to listen to funk and soul records, took samples from them and created hip-hop. Today, thanks to easy-to-use technology, we can all have a go at sampling. I went to Leeds to see 15-year-old Happer. He got into sampling when he wasn't well and stuck at home. Now he's being featured on XFM and is producing some incredible electronic dance music. Can you talk me through the samples that are easily available for people?
Pretty much all pieces of music software come with sample libraries with loads of different types of samples. Usually, instruments, sometimes field recordings. Most of the time they come free with the software.
So I'm going to set you a challenge today to build a track from scratch. Now the deal is, I'll let you pick the basic instruments like keyboards, drums and stuff, but I'm going to pick 3 samples that you have to use. Deal?
Deal.
Alright, so your 3 samples are bongos, a trumpet, and my wild card, a car horn. So how are you going to get started with the track?
I think I'm going to start with the bongos and then maybe add some of my own samples just to build up a beat, to have that main structure and the frame, and then build some melody upon that and then try and inject the horn and trumpet into it somewhere. The program lets you set the tempo, which is measured in beats per minute, or BPM as it's referred to, so I'm going to set it to 130 because that's the usual pace that I tend to work at. I'm just going to look through some of the different bongo loops I have. And sounding good, I'll just drag that in to an audio channel. That little section of coloured block there is like a small rhythm, and if I click this button it then loops, so I can just do some live editing and hear the changes as I go along. Sounds a bit weak, so we're going to try some distortion to give it a bit more oomph. I'm going to add some reverb to this just to make it sound a bit bigger. I like to pitch a lot of the stuff I use down, because I think it gives it a thicker, deeper sound. So I'm just going to drag this plugin onto a new MIDI channel. It has like 8 different sections of which you can drag like samples in if you want to build a beat. So I'll just double click here to add a MIDI note, and I want it to be on the beat. And we'll give it a listen. Press play up here. So you can see that's now looping in time with the bongos. The kick's a little bit too loud on there.
So this is where you're really using your ears, trying to find the right sample with the right timbre.
So that's got a nice beat going. And I think I'm going to add in a hi-hat. So I'll just drag that into one of the sections. So then again on the offbeat. So now I've got just a simple beat going. Now I'm going to bring in some more elements to the drum beat. I'm going to add a snare drum. I think I'm going to try and somehow work some of the trumpet into it now. I need to get the trumpet to fit with the beat, so I'm going to use a tool called quantizing, which will move it around so it's in time with the tempo that I'm working at. So I'm quite liking the sound of that. I think I'm going to like sidechain that to the kick, because I think that might sound quite nice as it ducks. Yep, the audio ducks. Yeah, it almost sounds like it's like reversing the trumpet. It's quite good. Now we're going for the wild card. Let's try this, see what this sounds like. This bit doesn't sound quite right, so I'm going to alter the pitch of it. I'll probably work on it a bit more, pay more attention to detail, just progress the track into, you know, a finished song.
So this is a really clear way to understand the track. There's no musical notes at all. It's more of a visual roadmap of the song. In this format, I can really see how the track is actually a series of repeating sounds and riffs. I can see the way he's laid out the samples and how some appear more regularly than others. I reckon Happer did a really good job, considering I gave him some pretty crazy sounds. So as well as listening to music, why not write some as well? It's not too hard to get started. Get stuck into a software program, pick some samples, start chopping them up, and build some music of your own.